they walk in the truth. So we need to be obedient, be receptive to instruction, be righteous, be a righteous person, be receptive to correction. Proverbs 29, just a few chapters over, and verse 15. The rod and reproof give wisdom, but a child left to himself brings his mother to shame. The rod and reproof, he says, that they give wisdom, but a child left to himself. In other words, a child that's left undisciplined, a child that doesn't receive discipline and correction and instruction, brings his mother, actually brings his parents to shame. So dealing with a child, listen, dealing with a child's sin is not the most enjoyable thing that any of us as parents are faced with. But when a child is receptive to correction and discipline, wisdom can come out of that. To them, wisdom can come from that. There's two things that are said to produce wisdom in this verse: the rod and rebuke. We live in a day and age now where, DSS, if you swat your child on the fanny, DSS wants to get involved. And if you, even if you scold them, they consider that verbal abuse. Now listen, there's a vast difference between physical abuse and spanking, and between verbal abuse and verbal correction. There's a vast difference in that. So the rod here, of course, speaks of physical punishment. Rebuke speaks of verbal correction. So there's an old adage that says this: I was brought up at my mother's knees and across my father's. Children, they're not to be abused. Certainly, plainly, obviously, children are not to be abused. And I think most parents certainly should know the difference between abuse and correction, and they certainly should never be abused physically or verbally. We should not abuse. As a matter of fact, I think children get more verbal abuse than they do physical abuse a lot of times. Parents call them stupid, and some of them call them even uglier names than that. You don't say things like that to your children. You don't try to impress upon them they're stupid or they're not as good as someone else or they're not rising. You just don't do things like. Now on the other, there's another end of that spectrum too. I don't believe in the stuff they got going nowadays about when they play ball they all get trophies. No. That's not teaching them life, because life doesn't give everybody trophies. Life doesn't reward everybody for any old thing. When I was in school, if you made A's, that's what you got on your report card. If you earned A's, that's what you got. Now in school, they won't give everybody A's, so they won't feel bad.